warm welcome to everyone. This video is one of 50 or so on investigative, intuitive learning on a concrete basis. My name is Andy Reed. This video is the first practical video on foundation mathematics and covers counting unlimited. It includes bundling and partly exchange. Please refer to my introductory mathematics video and my mathematics resource video. In this video I will cover counting up from 0, counting down to 0, counting in tens, an introduction to the illustrative level, and there will be 2 bonuses, a great challenge and fruit and vegetable fun. And first of all, a few difficulties and how to avoid them. I'm going to count these objects here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a great problem there, and that is I am counting and I'm saying 1 and seeing 6. I'm counting 2 and seeing 6. And I didn't start with 0. That's 2 problems. Here's a third, that's miscounting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's missing out 1. Or another is counting 1 twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here's how to solve all these little problems. Push the things that are going to be counted to one side and ask the question, how many have I got in front of me? And the answer at the moment is 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 in front of me. You can use 0 of course, or none, or nothing, or null. It's up to you. And now we come to counting up and counting down. Here is a strip. Perhaps we don't know yet that it's 10, so it's just a strip. And the question is, how many marbles can I see? And the answer is 0. And then in pairs, one child places the marble and both of them count. Or the child can do it individually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they count as far as they wish. Perhaps at the beginning only to 7. That's fine. And very soon, maybe a few days later, incorporate counting down. I've already forgotten how many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And if the children want to count long further than 10, then just add a strip, and add another strip, and another strip, as far as the children want to count. We can also set the strips underneath each other. This of course is the same activity, but the children find it to be a different activity and are happy following that as well, bringing to it as many strips as they wish. Or why not count on the square 100? Probably we can't call it 100 yet because they don't know what 100 is. Start in any corner. 0, 1, 2, and carry on in this row. 3, 4, and so on as far as the children want to count. And then counting down as well, back to 0. And here's a summary of what I've just covered. We can also do the counting up and counting down using the Mathemats. That's without the marbles. And here I say, how many holes do I see in front of me? The answer at the moment, 0. And then I take the ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I can bring the strip 10 and hold it up against it or cover them, however I choose. And then carry on. 11, 12, 13, and so on, and counting down as before with the marbles. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and so on. Some of my children have some trouble counting up in tens, and here's my approach. I count how many holes are in front of me. There are at the moment none, or 0. 10, 2 tens, 3 tens, 4 tens, 5 tens, 6 tens, and so on. But we don't say that in English. Instead of tens, we say T. So I'll start again. 0T, well, we just say 0. 1T, well, we say 10, although 1T would be much better. 2T, but we don't say that either. There were some people a long time ago who spoke English who couldn't speak very well, and they adopted 20, but it ought to be 2T. And with 3T, they adopted 30, and we just have to learn that. 40 or 40, 50 instead of 5T, 60, 70, 80, 90, 10T, or cover it and we have 100, and we can carry on. 110, 102T or 20, and so on. And we can count down. 120, 110, 100 or 10T, 90, 80, and if the child forgets at any time, we can always count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 80, 70, and so on. And here's a summary of what I've just covered. Here's a simple arrangement on separate strip tens, counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, or randomly saying how many are there. Point to a row at random and the child says 6. Point to another row, 3. And if the child doesn't know, then count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. Or we can pull them out and make another arrangement, like I've done on this side, putting them into a new arrangement and pointing randomly and saying how many are there. 4, 2, 10, and so on. Or in order, 8, 2, 7, 1, 10, 3, and so on. In the early stages of counting, I offer the children a bag which contains enough objects to allow them to count up to their own limit. There are always lots of objects available, so when they can count further, they can take more objects and keep them in the bag. It doesn't matter what the objects are, as long as they're the same: plastic, pieces, or discs, or anything else. If you don't have a suitable bag, a sock will do. If it's short, then you need a clip to stop the objects falling out. But a long sock is much easier, you just tie a knot in the end. Another simple and effective activity for practicing counting is counting into a container. How many marbles in the container? 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, until the child or the pair have had enough, say there, and they think it's 25, for instance. But how do they know whether this is correct? That's easy. Just take a Mathy-Mat 100 and pour the marbles out onto it and arrange them so that you can tell very quickly how many marbles there were or there are. There's 10, 20, and you could say nearly 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 28. So if the children thought it was 25, they know they've made some mistakes and can try it again. They can stop whenever they wish. Here's an easy activity with simple counting and an opportunity to move to the illustrative level. I've got a square 100 here, but we don't call it 100 unless we know that it is 100. It's just a square, and I'm going to count 5s. So I take some marbles and place them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the others back and make a nice shape with the 5. Here's one, for instance. Take the same marbles or another colour. Take 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the rest back and make another shape, but not the same one, of course. And keep some space between the shapes. Take another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the rest back and keep space between them, making a shape that I haven't had yet until the square is quite full. Not too full, just nicely full. And then taking a sheet like this, which you can get from my website under downloads, and colour in the shapes that you have made. Another activity is to just make very interesting patterns, making sure there's a gap between the shapes and not overfilling the square, and then taking the sheet as before and transferring those shapes onto paper. At some later time, the children might go back to their work and want to add the number symbols, writing how many there are in each shape. Here is a very interesting challenge which the children enjoy. Here is a square. Probably we can't call it 100 yet because we don't know what 100 is, and I show what to do. I take one marble and I place it somewhere on the grid. I take 2 marbles, you can use different colours or the same colour, doesn't matter, and I place those on the grid, but they mustn't touch the shapes that are already there, so that's fine. I take 3 marbles, 1, 2, 3, and I make an interesting shape and it mustn't touch the others. I take 4 marbles and I make an interesting shape, but it mustn't touch the others, so that's not working. I could push the one away, of course, and that would be fine. And that's what's good here, because the children can reorganise their shapes just by pushing, because we are at the concrete level. And so on until the square is as full as it can be. Keep making sure that there's some space between the shapes. When the children have their final version, Then they can copy it onto the paper, and then they have an illustrative version. As an additional challenge, of course, we can add a square to it so that we have 2 squares or even 3 squares in a row or in an L shape, or we can add 4 squares in a row or in a square itself. And the children have to see how far they can come. Obviously, with these extra arrangements, there is not the possibility to bring that onto paper. And we can introduce counting into all aspects of life. Here's one example. Dealing with fruit. How many apples are there here? And the best thing is to have a container into which you count. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How many avocados, and so on. But why not as well? How many of these fruits are not apples? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are not apples. Or we can introduce vegetables as well. How many tomatoes are there? How many peas are there? Or with more vegetables, how many are not peas? How many are not tomatoes? And so on. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you found it interesting and useful. Take a look at my website for links, downloads and information. And why not subscribe to receive news of the latest releases?